this. Build it, they say. They will come, they say. But when?
Preacher.
Got a witness there?
The very first small group that I led, I was super excited. And for 3 months, I averaged 2 people in each meeting. Now, many responded online, but at each meeting, I averaged 2 people. And so, how did I weather that storm? Here is what I am forever grateful for about the vision God gave me for my small group. I needed it. So I created a small group for entrepreneurs, C-suite leaders, C-suite executives, and community leaders to understand how to apply biblical principles in their leadership. And so for me, whenever only one other person would show up, because remember I said average too, I was still ready to have small group. Like, I never entertained the idea of, oh, does it make sense for us to meet? Because even when I was the one facilitating, that's exactly it. I was facilitating, and I was eager to have a conversation. If no one showed up, I would have used that time to reflect on the principle that God had given me during that session about leading, because I was an entrepreneur and I wanted to do things God's way. And so I was able to weather the storm because I ate the food that I served. And then as long as there was one other person, the word says where 2 or 3 are gathered in his name, there he is also. And so in weathering that storm, I was very firmly convinced we held space for those who came afterwards. Because the ones who came afterwards, their stories differed. There was a range of stories, but many of them were in the vein of, because remember, these are entrepreneurs, C-suite executives, and their stories were, I have no safe place. I'm the top of the ladder. When I'm struggling, there's no place I can go. So I'm very glad that this small group exists. If anyone has ever read Circle Maker, has anyone read Circle Maker? It's a powerful book about prayer. And it tells this story. It was this itty-bitty, little-bitty church in the middle of nowhere. And there was one person who faithfully maintained that church for years. That church ended up being the foundation place for a movement of God that happened a generation later. And so in Circle Maker, it talks about how there is this prayer circle and we're partnering with God. And our God is a God without time. And so he was putting things in place because he was building a masterpiece. But each part was very important. And so as I began to hear the stories of those who later came, because once we developed momentum, we never dropped in our numbers. I realized it was a circle maker. We held space for those 3 months until the other